Hello, folks, and welcome to the SO Hacker Log. I am your script kiddie in security land, and this is my network that is being monitored by Security Onion. If you want to learn how to monitor a small network at home using Security Onion, then see the link down in the description. In this episode, I am going to enable an SSH server on macOS so that I can log into it from my Kali Linux virtual machine and transfer files between the two. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Once again, in the lower right-hand corner here, we have a macOS host. And in the background here, we have a Windows 11 host that is logged into the Security Onion console. And as usual, in the options here in the Security Onion console, I have the update frequency set to 1 minute, so we can see new alerts show up here as they happen. Okay. Moving to the macOS host now, I am going to start an SSH server here. And the reason that I am doing that is because I want to be able to transfer files between the Kali Linux virtual machine that is running on this macOS and this macOS itself. This test network that I have these virtual machines connected to is generally not connected to the internet. And I do occasionally connect it to the internet, but never when I have intentionally vulnerable virtual machines running on it. Sometimes, however, when you are pen testing, you do need to download exploits from the internet, and hence the machine you are attacking from needs to have access to the internet. By allowing the transfer of files between the virtual Kali Linux machine and the physical macOS machine that it is running on, I can keep the test network and the rest of the test environment isolated from the internet, while allowing the macOS to have access to the internet through a second network adapter. Now, this is certainly not foolproof, but it is a level of separation between the network that I am intentionally compromising and the internet, and you definitely want to have your intentionally vulnerable environments separated from the outside world somehow. Now, you also can transfer files back and forth between a virtual machine and its physical host in VirtualBox by installing the VirtualBox extension pack and then setting up a share folder between the two machines. I do not have that extension pack installed, so I am doing it this way. Okay, so getting to it now, I am going to go to the system settings here in this macOS. And the first thing that I'm going to do here is create a less privileged user for accessing SSH on this computer. And that is just because I do not want a user with administrator access to have SSH access to this machine. So I am going to go to Users and Groups over here on the left. And then I am going to select Add User over here on the right. Now I am going to type in my password and it will give me the interface here for creating a new user. I am going to leave this new user set as a standard user, and I am going to name this new user SSH-user. I am going to create a password, and then I am going to go ahead and just click on Create User here. As you can see, there is now a new non-administrative user here. So now I am going to enable SSH access. On the left-hand side of this settings window here, I am going to go up to General and select that. Then on the right-hand side of this window, I am going to go down and select Sharing. That reveals all of the sharing options that are available, and from here I am going to toggle remote login to the on position. Now there is an SSH server running on this Mac. The next thing that I'm going to do is I am going to click on this little eye next to the toggle switch here, and that will reveal some of the settings for this server. As you can see, it gives us a username and a domain to use when we are logging into the SSH server here. That is going to be a little bit different than what is written there actually because of some of the changes that I'm making. Down here where it says allow access for, I am going to select administrators here and I am going to delete it. And that is because I don't actually want administrators to be able to access this machine through SSH. Next, I am going to add access for the SSH user that I just created a few moments ago. Once that user is added to the list, I am just going to click on the Done button right here. Okay, so now we have an SSH server running on this Mac, and it also allows for secure file transfer, so we can log into it from the Kali Linux virtual machine and transfer files. Now I am going to minimize this settings window here, and I am going to fire up the Kali Linux virtual machine from the VirtualBox manager here. I'm going to log in here. Pausing for a moment here to go back to the Security Onion console, you can see that shortly after this Kali Linux machine logs onto this network, Security Onion informs us that a Kali Linux machine has joined the network. So that's good. Going back to our Kali Linux virtual machine now, I am just going to double click on the home folder over here on the Kali Linux desktop to open up the Thunar file manager. From there, I am going to click on the address field up here, and I am going to type in SFTP://ssh-user at benjaminsmini.lan. And SFTP is just the secure file transfer protocol, and SSH user is the new user that we created on the Mac OS. And benjaminsmini.lan is just the domain name of this Macintosh on the network here. Once I hit enter, I will be prompted for a password. Now, the first time that you do this, you will be prompted to accept the server's public key. I have actually already logged into this server, so it isn't asking me to do that again. I am going to type in the password that I just made for SSH user a minute ago on the Mac OS, and then I am going to click on connect. And now we are browsing the files on the Mac OS from the Kali Linux virtual machine here. We can now drag and drop folders and files between these two machines. As you can see, there is a new network location that has been added to the file manager here. Now I am just going to navigate to the users directory here. And from there, I am going to navigate to the SSH users home folder. As you can see, most of the directories in this folder are not accessible to us because we do not have the appropriate permissions, but the public folder is accessible, so I'm going to navigate to that one. As you can see, there is another subfolder here called Dropbox, but this public folder is where I am going to be dragging and dropping files that I transfer between these two machines. So there you have it. We now have secure file transfer enabled between this Kali Linux virtual machine and the Mac OS physical machine that it is running on top of.